Hi again, everyone. Bob Burg with another episode of the Go-Giver Influencers Facebook Live show. Today's episode is Influential Rooms, and we'll find out why in just a moment. You know, two of my favorite business philosophers, Charlie Tremendous Jones and Jim Rohn, each had great sayings that were similar and I believe profound. Charlie Jones said, "You'll be the same person in 5 years as you are today, except for the people you meet and the books you read." Jim Rohn said, "We are the average of the 5 people we spend the most time with." Now, both make a point about the influence that people in our lives have upon us. Now, I suspect that there's probably more to it than just that, although if you went with that basic idea alone, you'd probably be setting yourself for a good life, okay? Well, a longtime friend of mine has taken this basic idea and he has delved very deep into this. Now, he's done it in a way that's simple, that's gentle, and he's done it in a very short, easy to read, delightful book, which we'll talk about more in a moment. And the chances are really good that you and your life and your business has either been directly or indirectly touched by him or someone in his relatively small sphere of influence. You'll know why I laughed in about 2 seconds. Dr. Ivan Misner is founder and chief visionary officer of BNI, Business Network International, the world's largest business networking organization. Founded in 1985, the organization now has 8,800 chapters throughout every populated continent in the world. Last year alone, get this, BNI generated 11.2 million referrals, resulting in 14.2 billion, that's with a B, dollars worth of business for its members. Dr. Misner is a many times New York Times bestselling author who's written 23 books, including his latest, Who's in Your Room? The Secret to, I hope I'm putting this right in the right, yep. The Secret to Creating Your Best Life, co-authored with Stuart Emery and Rick Sapio. And I believe that of all the books he's written, and I have a full library of his books, I think this is the most important one yet.
Thank you.
He's also a columnist for Entrepreneur.com. He's been a university professor as well as a member of the board of trustees for the University of Laverne. Called the father of modern networking by CNN and one of the top networking experts by Forbes, Dr. Misner is considered to be one of the world's leading experts on business networking and has been a keynote speaker for major corporations and associations throughout the world. He's been featured in the LA Times, Wall Street Journal, New York Times, as well as numerous TV and radio shows, including CNN, BBC, and The Today Show on NBC. Among his many awards, he's been named Humanitarian of the Year by the Red Cross and was recently the recipient of the John C. Maxwell Award. He's for leadership. He's also proud to be the co-founder of the BNI Charitable Foundation. He and his lovely wife, Elizabeth, are now empty nesters with adult children. His website is ivanmisner.com. The website for his new book, Who's in Your Room, is who'sinyourroom.online. And of course, Shannon will be doing her always awesome job of posting this. So before we even get started, I've got to tell everybody, because I don't think they could see it, but I could see in the monitor that when I said that he and Elizabeth are empty nesters, and I'm not sure if they saw your arms raised in victory or not. Welcome.
Thank you, Bob. And you know, when you read, he's considered one of the leading experts in the world on networking. I would have to rank you right up there with me, Bob. You look. There are very few people. When people ask me what other networking books, you know, who else has written really good networking books, you are always the first person that I name. You have done amazing books, the Go-Getter, and of course, Endless Referrals. It has been an honor for me to be able to refer you because you truly walk the talk.
Wow.
I've seen him for many years, and I'm really happy to be on your Facebook Live. Thank you for inviting me. Thank
you, and that means a lot to me. Thank you. So, intriguing title, first of all, Who's in Your Room? I love the title as soon as I knew that was coming out. The subtitle is The Secret to Creating Your Best Life. So, premise being what?
Well, here's the idea. Imagine you live your entire life in one room, and that one room has one door, and that one door is an enter only door, so that when people come into your life and into your room, they're there forever. You can never get them out. Now, luckily it's a metaphor, but if it were true, would you be more selective? Bob, would you be more selective about who you let into your life?
Oh, I was thinking about that as I was reading the book and you were saying that. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, so I would argue that it's more than a metaphor, because those of you watching this right now, I want you to think of someone who is out of your life, but you remember, and man, you just did not like them. It wasn't a good fit. Maybe they were toxic or they were angry, and they're out of your life, but you remember them vividly. Bob, do you have one of those? You don't have to say who it is, but do you have one of those?
Oh, yeah.
We all do. So here's the deal. If you're thinking of, if you know who they are, they're still in your head. And if they're in your head, they're in your room, because everything you do in the future will be based on the relationships you had in the past, good or bad. You're going to make decisions in the future because of the good and bad things that happened in your life. So I believe it's more than a metaphor, that they never really leave your room, even if they're out of your life. Make sense?
Yeah, it makes great sense. And I love what you said, the importance of those you allow into your life being in alignment with your goals and objectives, both personal and professional, which I want to talk about later. But I want to ask you first, so if we accept your premise, which I think everybody probably does, where do we begin?
So you begin by hiring a doorman. Okay, so you don't have to actually go out and hire a doorman. But the doorman principle is about your conscious and subconscious mind. And by the way, we wrestle with what to call it in the book. You know, we talked about it being a bouncer or...
I like bouncer. You said it wasn't gentle, and I thought that was sometimes I think I should have had more bouncers.
So use the word bouncer. You know, you hire a bouncer or a guard, or if you want to call it a door person, that's fine. We just went with doorman. But you can call it whatever it is for you. It's your conscious and subconscious mind. That, look, I hope I'm not the only person that talks to myself in my mind. You know, I'm having conversations, I'm thinking is about talking to yourself in your mind. And so, you know, I have conversations thinking about, well, is this person really a good fit? So what you want to do is you have this conscious and subconscious approach to dealing with the people that are trying to get into your room. And that is the doorman principle. The thing is, you have to train the doorman. So what do you train them on? Train them on your values, which means, and this is the only homework that people have to do in the book, you got to get good with your values. If you don't know your values, you can't train your doorman, and it's going to be a revolving door. So the doorman knows your values, and the values are what you use to screen people from coming into your life.
Okay, so, and I want to, by the way, dig even deeper into that, because that was so important.
I'll give you a technique to start to make it easy for values when you're ready.
Yeah, and there was also a story about someone that I'm going to have you share later that I think once she clarified her values, it probably saved a couple of generations.
Yes.
You know who I'm talking about.
Rick's story, yeah.
I want to bring that up, yeah. So let's say that, again, and I'm taking right from the book, you can't unchange who's in your room, but you can begin to approach it in a different way. But here's what I like what you said, putting the transformative power of who's in your room. And the work begins with an inquiry rather than a rush to action. So would you unpack that for us?
Yeah. So it starts with figuring out your values, but sometimes it's tough to, you know, when I say to someone, you know, do you know your values? They always say, yeah. I say, okay, well, give me a list of your top 5 values. And they go, and they don't know what to say. So you got to get good with your values. I'm going to give you a technique to start. And it's interesting because you got the book there. We ended this chapter with the concept of deal breakers. If I had to do the book over again, and you probably know this more than anyone because you've written books, sometimes as you start talking about it, you realize maybe it should have gone in a different section. If I had to do that over again, I would start the chapter with deal breakers because it gets people thinking. If you say, what are your values? They may or may not know. But if you say, what are your deal breakers? What are the things that are absolutely unacceptable to you? People know immediately. As I was working on this book, it hit me immediately. Drama. Deal breaker for me. Drama. People that just drip in drama. We all have drama. I have a little drama. We all do. But you know the people I'm talking about, that they seek out drama. They find it like a magnet. They love it. They engage. They may not say they love it, but it's all around them. here's the thing, Bob. I looked around my room and I realized I had a fair number of people with drama. And it hit me. It was all my fault. I let them in. Other than maybe a family member or two, I let these people in. And so that's the inquiry part. You've got to really sit down and think, what are your deal breakers? Here's a deal breaker that my wife and I, you've had dinner at my house in Claremont.
Sure, absolutely.
We live in Austin, Texas now. This is my place in Austin. But my wife and I have a couples deal breaker. We only go out with other couples who behave lovingly and respectfully with each other.
Oh,
You have to love and respect each other. And anybody who's been married for any length of time may not do that 100%, but you go out with somebody a few times, you get it. Oh, yeah. And so we realized that we had couples in our life that did not treat each other lovingly or respectfully. And in the future, that's what we were looking for. So starting with deal breakers then allows you to go deeper and think about your values.
Okay, let's go, and I love that, by the way. Let's go back to something, and it was in the same chapter about the transformative power. You said, and this was a great exercise, and I began to do this. Imagine times when you felt a certain way.
Yeah.
Okay. Who was in your room at that time, and was there dissonance or resonance?
Right.
What are those two types, and how do we work within that?
Resonance and dissonance?
And yeah, in terms of thinking about the people who may have been in your life at a time where you felt a certain way. Who was in your room at the time?
Yeah, so let's talk about the concept of resonance real briefly. And I'm not a musician, but I think I remember this correctly, that if you have two pianos side by side and you hit the middle C key on one piano, and the second piano, you have the foot pedal down. You don't hit a key, you just have the foot pedal down. The string on the second piano will hum. It will resonate. And that's what we're talking about with resonance. When people interact with one another and it's resonant versus dissonant, which it's like scratching on a chalkboard. So you want to think about experiences that you had that were resonant, where it was like, wow, I really enjoyed this person. I had a good time with them. What is it about them I liked? Because those are values that you may either have or that are certainly resonant with you. You may say, what is it about them I didn't like? And hopefully you don't have those values, and you definitely want to restrict connection with those people. Does that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I want to go back to values again, because again, I thought that was the most important. Well, I don't want to say most important because it all tied in, but it was so important because it's like
the foundation.
Right. It's the foundation. Yeah. Exactly. So somebody's having troubles. They're saying, okay, I get this. I love it. But and it was a great example regarding the couples, but okay, but just myself, what are my values? What are these values? And I'm thinking of a few right now. One is gossip. Okay, that's a deal breaker for me in terms of values. If someone is a gossiper, especially because I used to be a gossiper and I broke that habit because I realized how destructive it was. I was always able to attract other gossipers in my life. Isn't that weird? You know,
no, that's not surprising at all. You say you attracted other gossipers? Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. They were in my room and I was in their room.
Right.
So that would be one for me. If someone's saying, okay, what are my values? And again, we all have our different values. I think that would be one. Again, as you said, drama, or people who are always putting you, either putting you down or kind of down shooting everything you want to do. Though we also can't confuse that with someone who genuinely is providing good advice, and they're not just going to be a sycophant.
There's a difference.
Yeah. So, I'm just thinking of those and saying, because I love the declaration of values, and because, as you said, it's that North Star that guides you. So, and by the way, and I meant to say this, if anybody, Michael Geller just said values are definitely the foundation. Beak Jordan said resonant, great word. And tell us your values. Put these down in the discussion guide. And if I see them, by the way, I will definitely share them with Dr. Misner here. Put down some of your values. What does it take for someone to get entrance into your room now that you're aware of it, now that you have the gentle doorman or doorwoman who's up there making sure. Okay. Deal breaker. Now, so let's talk about Stephanie and her daughter, Bonnie, because this is where someone decided to bring some values in their life, have some deal breakers, put up that door person.
Yeah.
What happened?
Such a powerful story. Unbelievable story. This is Rick's story that he shares in the book. And he was working with Bonnie and talking about values and her values. And he explained the doorman principle to her. And one of the things that Bonnie said is that they were devastated with the young man that Stephanie was dating. She was like 19 years old, or she was young. And he was a few years older and really into drugs. They thought he might have been a maybe even a light drug dealer. He was bad news in the family. Mm-hmm. And they couldn't say anything negative about her. And so he said to them, he said, look, you got to get good with your values. And one of the things that I recommend is you have a conversation with Stephanie about what are her values. You know, what's important to her. And so all they did was they literally just had it was like, I don't know, a 10, 15, 20-minute conversation where they said to Stephanie, what are your values? What do you value in life? What's important to you in life? And they shared their values, and Stephanie gave some thought to it, and she shared what she thought was her values, and they were really good values. 15-minute conversation. I recall it's like 2 weeks later, Stephanie comes down and she said, I broke up with Trevor. And of course, the two parents, I've been in this kind of situation where they go, oh, really?
Right. Trying not to go like that. Right?
Yeah, you're trying not to. Yeah. So, they looked at Bonnie, and her husband looked at her and said, well, why? We support you. Why? And Stephanie said, I really thought about it, and it hit me that Trevor, he doesn't live by the values that are important to me in life. And I was like, that changed, I think you said it, generations, not just her, but her children.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Sure, because look at who now, we see patterns repeating themselves generation after generation, and boom, right. That just stopped right there.
So just getting that young woman to think about what was really important in her life, and then letting her, because if the parents did it, that wouldn't work. But letting her look at the person she was dating and saying, those aren't really my values. I don't think I want to stay with him. Oh, it was brilliant. Absolutely.
And there's a key there that you just said. The key that you just said, which I love, is that they weren't her values, not they weren't her parents.
Exactly right.
And yeah. I guess when you do that with anyone, it's whether it's someone at work who you're leading, or whether it's a son or daughter or whomever, it's really saying it in a way that's tactful enough and that you don't come across as imposing your values, I guess, right?
Yeah. If you do that, it won't go over well. They got to come up with their own values.
Right.
And in the book, we have a list of values of that you could play with, but we also have there's a website on there. I think it's WIYRthebook.com /downloads. So WIYR, who's in your room? WIYRthebook.com /downloads. You could go there. It's all free, no catch, and just download PDFs on how to think deeper about your values. Another link that we have is it's a tiny URL link in there with a gentleman who I'm sure you know, Tony Alessandra. Tony does disc instruments and motivators. That's a link to Tony Alessandra's site. We have no financial connection to this site, but I love Tony. I love what he does. His motivators instrument is all about values. So we recommend there. You go, you work this stuff out, and then the rest of it is easy once you have that foundation. Mm-hmm. Or easier anyway.
Easier, right.
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm going to look at the comments here and read some of them back. David Nakava. Hi, Kathy Tajanel. Great content here. Okay. Thank you, David. Christy Ellis said high value for her humor. And Christy is that would totally figure that it would be humor. For Beek, Jordan, integrity.
Can I say something about the humor? You probably know of Yakov Smirnov?
Oh, love him.
Is he not hysterical? He actually finished his doctoral degree in psychology, and he's doing a whole lot of humor now about men and women in humor. And he's got a whole presentation that he calls "Laughter Are What Women Are After." And that men who can get their wife to laugh, or significant other to laugh, that it makes an amazing connection. And he's interviewed this couple that's been married for like 78 years. Married for 78 years, they're in their 90s. And it's funny to watch this old guy make his wife of 78 years laugh hysterically in the interview. It's great. Anyway, I sidetracked.
No, I know, and I love Yakov Smirnoff, and I believe you've done some work with him or something.
I have, yeah. Yeah, he's a good friend. Love Yakov. He's very, very funny and very, very smart.
Yeah. And where he lived, you don't find a party, the party finds you.
That's Yakov.
Yeah, that was one of his first jokes. Speaking of first, by the way, I'm going to get sidetracked again here, but I think we talked the last time we were on a podcast together. I think I might have been on your podcast, that we discovered that I had the very first book you ever wrote. Do you remember that? We were talking about that.
I forgot about that. That little bound book.
Yeah, the bound book. That's right. I have it in my Misner library. I have your first book.
You and 19 other people.
Yeah. And I think I have all your books, but I have the collector's version of your first one.
You do, well. That one's an embarrassment.
Let's see. Michael Geller, definitely humor. Love it. I would add people who don't take themselves too seriously. That's a good one. Keith Mercier from New Hampshire, great friend of mine. He nice compliment. Thank you, Keith. That's very nice of you. Okay, Chris Byers Porter sees and speaks from the positive side. Creativity, lifelong learner. Yes, absolutely.
That's one of mine. Lifelong learner.
Yep. Michael, growth mindset, goals, positive. Reverse. I have them be an active listener. Yep. Bruce Corkle also said Tony Alessandra, good man. We do see Anand Shetty from Mumbai, who just joined us, stopped by. Marie Chin, integrity is at the top of my values. And Chris Byers wrote, yep, laughter are what women are after. Amen, she said. And Mia Voss, yes, on the humor value. Absolutely. And again, remember, who's in your room? Make sure you get this. I would say it's a short read, and it would be if you just read it right through.
Right.
But with me, I have notes on every page. So
I love that, Bob. That's fantastic.
It wasn't a short read for me, but it would be if somebody wanted it to be a short read. Claudia Batista Hoppy says we need the book in Spanish. Any chance of that happening soon?
Yeah, somebody has just bought the rights to translate in Spanish. I don't know when that's going to be done. I would guess late this year or early next year. And I believe it's going to be coming out in like 8 or 10 languages by next year. It is available on Kindle, and it's also come out as an audio book.
Good.
Just last month. And here's the great thing about it. All 3 of the authors read the book.
I was going to ask. So
we alternated chapters.
Good. Oh, good.
And here's another interesting thing. We actually added content that's in the audio version that's not in the book, where we would be talking and we would say, okay, I'm going to go off script here. And we shared stuff that wasn't.
Oh, good. That's a nice bonus, really.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about another part right here. And this is where you took some wisdom from your mom.
Yeah.
People, I was going to say, I'm sure they asked the question, what about those in the room? I need to get out of my room, but they are a part of my life, and you can't just always.
You might be able to get them physically out of your life, but they're still in your head. If they're in your head, they're in your room.
Right. And sometimes they're still in your life. I mean, you may have to work with them. You may have to see them at, what have you. So great wisdom from your mom. She told you what?
Well, she told me with any problems, take them, put them in a box and put them on a shelf. They're going to be there tomorrow. Mm-hmm. Now, we got to that point. The original version that we wrote was put them in the basement. But then one of us realized that they had too much like an arsenic and old lace sort of a feel to it. It's like, we don't want to do that. So I remembered what my mom used to say, put the person in a box. Mm-hmm. They're going to be there tomorrow. The problem will be there. Stick it in a box, put it high on a shelf, where you got to get on a ladder and put it up high so that you can, in effect, compartmentalize those things so you're not having to obsess over it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
good advice. Remembered it. I mean, she probably told me that when I was, I don't know, 16.
Yeah, isn't that funny how those things stick, and it's at the very right time they
stick. So my mom, when I was 13, gave me this: diplomacy is the art of letting someone else have your way.
I love that.
She said, "I love you, honey, but you're a bull in the china shop. You knock people over. You have to learn how to be more diplomatic with people." She gave me that. It's been on a desk in one of my offices for 40 years or more.
Oh, that is wonderful. Wow. Well, she knew sort of that missing piece that her son needed, right?
Yeah.
With all the brilliance that you needed to also remember that, and that's a good reminder. Okay, so you also talk about balance.
Yeah.
Would you like to learn the secret of balance? And that secret would be?
Forget about balance. You'll never have it. It's just not possible. And I think we're all going through life looking for, like Lady Justice with the scales of justice, wanting everything to be in balance, our spiritual life, our health, our business, our personal life. And life is just too messy, especially if you're an entrepreneur. But it's not all bad news. We believe that you may not be able to have balance, but you can create a life of harmony. And it's more than semantics. Even though a graphic for harmony, the yin and the yang,
right?
If you separated them, they're out of balance. Mm-hmm. But it's the whole that you can create in harmony. And so what we do in that chapter is we talk about, you've gone through this process of screening and learning how to deal with problem people. Now, how do you live the life you want? And you can do that through harmony. And then we offer a number of techniques that you can use to have a life of harmony.
Okay. And I just want to, you said this earlier, but it was just such a great quote. This was actually the quote that ended the book.
Yeah.
The quality of your life depends on the people in your life. When you design your room, you transform your life.
Yeah.
We just got to keep that in mind. I mean, it's an ongoing process, isn't it, in a sense?
It really is. And we talk in there briefly about the law of attraction. And I'm a real believer in the law of attraction. The problem is that I think we forget that the word action is part of the word attraction. Mm-hmm. And so you can attract all this stuff in your life that you want, but if you're not taking action, then I just don't think it's going to work as well. And this is a book that's really very actionable. Here are some very specific things that we think you can do. Would you like one technique or more on how do you live that life of harmony?
Absolutely.
3 words. It's the first suggestion we have. It sounds easy. It's not. Be here now. Wherever you are, be there. Don't be at work thinking about the time that you didn't spend with the family last night. Don't be at home thinking about the project that is due at work. Wherever you are, be fully present. And the more you can do that, the more people feel that they're connected to you, and the more of a life of harmony you might be able to live in. And my life was way out of balance. I traveled a lot. Yet by using that technique, it really helped in many ways to be fully present in the moment so that my family didn't feel like I was not there for them.
Dr. Ivan Misner is the founder and chief visionary officer of BNI, Business Network International, the world's largest business networking organization. Now, his latest book is Who's in Your Room? Who's in Your Room? I want to make sure to get the subtitle right. The Secret to Creating Your Best Life. It is a winner. Make sure you pick this one up. And I think this is one of those you get for everyone in your life who you love. So you get it for your family members. You get it for
especially young people. Wouldn't it have been great to have this when we were like 17?
Oh my goodness, absolutely. It would have saved me some heartache like you wouldn't believe. Yeah. And the book was written with Stuart Emery and Rick Sapio, and really it's just a life-enhancing, life-changing book. His main website is ivanmisner.com. Check out the book at Who's in Your Room .online, but also check, and there's a thing on the page, check out his book ambassador program.
Yeah, thank you.
And Shannon, of course, has been posting all of this as we've been discussing. Okay, a couple quick commercials. Let's see. Oh, as I always say, if you haven't yet gotten John David Manns and my book, The Go-Giver Influencer, make sure to go to thegogiver.com, pick that up. Our next,
I have mine right there.
where's, oh, really? Oh, thank you.
Right there, yeah.
Thank you. Our next Go Giver Entrepreneurs Academy is next weekend. It's sold out. Our next one is going to be in July. So if you want to get put on the early list to be notified first before we start the advertising, just go to, and Shannon will be posting this, GoGiverEntrepreneursAcademy.com. Let's see, Christy Ellis, who is a very, very successful realtor and also one of our certified Go Giver speakers and coaches. She is out in Chandler, Arizona. She will be hosting me along with Patrick McQueen, real estate attorney, for a live seminar we'll be doing out there on, I think it's March 1st. And so check that out. And let's see, other than that, there's really not a whole lot. I just, won't be seeing you next week because I will be in, let's see, well, yeah, we'll be at the Go Giver Entrepreneurs Academy, and then I head to Chicago after that, but I will see you, I think, the week after that. We'll let you know. Sorry about that. Anyway, again, Dr. Ivan Misner, great friend, mentor, fantastic guy. Thank you so much, and congratulations again on this new book. It is absolutely a gem.
Thank you, Bob. And it's available on Amazon, of course. Bob, that was the best interview. I know we're still on. That was the best interview that anyone has done with me about this book. You're a great interviewer.
You touched my heart. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And until next time, everyone, I'm Bob Burg, wishing you a great week and a great day. Be well. Bye-bye.